The forest had fallen silent after the grim morning. Snow covered the trail as the riders continued north. Two brothers rode together, alike in age but completely different in spirit. One was quiet, while the other was full of restless energy. Suddenly, the fair-haired brother grinned and shouted a challenge, "Race you to the river!" The dark-haired rider surged ahead without hesitation. His brother laughed and raced after him. The youngest brother stayed behind. His thoughts were too heavy for games. He could not forget the fear he had seen that morning. The man's eyes remained in his memory. Then a great shadow fell across him. His father had ridden up beside him. His father asked if he was all right. The boy told him that his brothers disagreed about the condemned man. "Can someone be brave while being afraid?" the boy asked. His father looked down at him thoughtfully. "That," his father said quietly, "is when a person can truly be brave." The man had broken his oath and abandoned his duty. His father explained that such promises protected everyone who depended on them. But the real question was not why the man had to die, it was why his father had to carry the responsibility himself. The boy thought of the southern king. "Doesn't the king have an executioner?" he asked. His father nodded, but the north followed an older tradition. A ruler who passed judgment had to accept its burden himself. The boy slowly understood. Courage meant facing fear, and duty meant accepting responsibility for difficult choices. They continued down the quiet road, each lost in thought. The boy could feel that his father's lesson was heavier than it first seemed. His father had learned long ago that power always carried responsibility. The boy listened carefully, determined not to forget his father's words. Duty was not simply giving orders. Duty meant accepting their consequences. Far ahead, his brothers continued toward the river. For them, the morning had already become a distant memory, but the youngest still remembered every moment. He could not understand how fear and courage could exist together. His father's answer had changed the way he saw courage. Courage mattered because fear made the choice difficult. In the north, ancient traditions shaped the lives of its people. An oath was more than words. It was a promise that had to be honored. To abandon an oath was to abandon a responsibility. His father had accepted the responsibility of judgment himself. The boy began to realize that important choices were rarely easy. He was young, but he was beginning to understand. The boy wondered how kings in the south handled such burdens. Different lands followed different customs, but the North believed leaders should face their responsibilities directly. Authority gave a person power, but it also gave him weight. The boy still had many questions. His father never mocked his questions. He answered them patiently. Some lessons could only be learned through experience. Behind them, the rest of the riders continued in silence. The mountains rose ahead like ancient guardians. A bitter wind swept through the trees. The boy held tightly to the reins and continued forward. He watched his father and learned more from his example than his words. His father remained calm, even when the world around them was harsh. The lesson slowly became clearer in the boy's mind. Fear was not shameful. Allowing fear to control every choice was different. Courage meant moving forward despite fear. Responsibility meant accepting what followed your decisions. At last, the boy began to understand what his father meant. Somewhere ahead, his brothers were nearing the river. Their race would soon come to an end. For a moment, they were simply brothers again. Far behind them, their father and youngest brother continued onward. Even the brothers carried different thoughts about the morning. The quiet brother remained thoughtful. The fair-haired brother quickly returned to his usual cheer. The boy wondered when childhood would give way to duty. But the road continued, and so did their journey. Above them, the northern sky stretched endlessly. This was an old land, shaped by old traditions. His father was teaching him a lesson that had been passed down through generations. One day, the boy might have responsibilities of his own. He did not yet know what those responsibilities would demand. For now, he had his father's guidance. Sometimes the quiet moments taught the greatest lessons. He replayed his father's words again and again. Fear and courage, he realized, could exist in the same heart, and duty meant choosing the difficult path when necessary. Their journey through the north continued. Winter seemed to grow colder with every mile. His father became quiet again, carrying thoughts of his own. The boy watched him carefully, trying to understand the man behind the title. To his son, he was not only a lord, he was his father. The world around them was beautiful, but it was not an easy world. The North taught its people to endure hardship. Honor meant keeping your word even when keeping it was difficult. Strength was not only physical. Sometimes strength meant accepting responsibility. The boy silently promised himself that he would remember. Eventually, the road began leading them home. The familiar towers appeared beyond the trees. For the riders, the journey was nearly over. The older brothers returned with the excitement of their race still upon them. The youngest arrived much quieter than when the journey had begun. He had returned with something more valuable than excitement: understanding. His father's words remained in his mind. Courage was not the absence of fear. Courage was facing fear instead of running from it. Duty meant standing behind the choices you made. Leadership meant carrying burdens others could not see. The boy wondered what kind of man he would become. His father hoped the lesson would stay with him. Outside, the snow continued to fall quietly. The boy remembered the fear he had witnessed and the courage his father had explained. He finally understood that bravery was a choice, and duty meant accepting the consequences of that choice. It was a lesson the boy would carry for the rest of his life. In the North, courage and duty were bound together. The road ahead was long, and many more lessons waited. The boy had learned something simple but powerful. Being brave did not mean having no fear. It meant doing what was right, even when fear stood beside you.